Good morning and welcome to Daystar TV. I am Ashley Mutahi and this is the Intangible show where we focus on mental, physical and spiritual wellness. Today our focus will be on mental illness. Now this is something that most people are not familiar with. So joining me in studio today is a girl who has really gone through it. You guys will get to meet her shortly after this break. Welcome back, guys. My guest is finally in studio with me and I want her to introduce herself. Welcome to my show.
Thank you very much. My name is Emma Mwangi and I am here to talk about my journey through mental illness. And yes, I am very excited.
Okay, I'm also excited to have you here. Thank you so much and thank you for keeping time.
Yes.
You're actually a whole hour early. That's so impressive.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just to start off, I'd like you to tell us what exactly is mental illness.
I'll describe it in a layman's language because it has so many complex words, but just for that ordinary wananchi, I'll just say mental illness is, okay, so from the word illness, so it's just a disease like any other, but now it affects the mind. So I'll say it's a disease of the brain, when you're diagnosed with that kind of illness, what happens is that it affects your mood, your behavior, and how you even think. So yeah.
Okay, and we actually have so many people who don't really believe that mental illness is a thing.
Yeah.
They don't think it's when you tell them I'm mentally ill, they're like, are you serious?
Yeah.
So what are like the types of mental illness? Because I know there are a few.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the elephant in the room, that is depression. So depression can also be known as clinical depression or major depressive disorder. We have schizophrenia, we have anxiety disorder, we have bipolar, we have even the eating disorders. Yes.
Oh, wow. Hey,
Yeah.
Some I didn't even know. I didn't know the eating disorder was part of it.
Yes.
So for you, what mental illness have you suffered from?
So I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, just commonly known as depression, and general anxiety disorder. Yes.
Okay, and how did that come to be? How did you first realize you're having depression issues and anxiety?
I was in an interview and I got to meet, there were psychologists there, and they happened to notice the marks that I have on my arms. And they started asking me questions, and of course I knew what they were asking about. So I told them, yes, I self-harm and do all that. And so they were able to convince me into going to, there's a clinic in Kenyatta Hospital. It's a youth clinic. So I went there, and then the very first day I got there, they told me that they had to admit me. And so I was talking to Matari. They actually put me in an ambulance and took me to Matari Hospital. That's where I got to meet the senior psychiatrist, and then he diagnosed me after now having a session with him. So yeah, I was diagnosed with clinical depression and the general anxiety disorder.
Okay, so before that whole scenario, you had no idea that you had depression?
I had no idea. I knew something was wrong, but then again, I couldn't just put I didn't have a name for it.
Oh, okay, so you were feeling it, but you didn't know what it was.
Yes.
Okay, and what were the triggers? What was triggering this depression? What was triggering you cutting yourself and all that?
Okay. So there was something, I felt like there was something wrong with me, but I didn't know. So the triggers now I came to know later, there were a dysfunctional family, and also the fact that the number one reason where I started cutting myself was when my dad was shot dead. So that really did a number for me. So he was shot dead, and it was very traumatic for me because I actually had the gunshots when I was at home, when I was in the house. So that there are so many reasons: dysfunctional family, and then came unemployment, and then there was just so there was. I had these feelings where I used to feel like I'm very worthless, and that is actually a symptom of depression. It's a huge. So I felt hopeless, and I felt like there was nothing for me in life. Mainly because I had a very bad relationship with my mom. We had a toxic. No, it's better. I had a toxic relationship with my mom. So, and also I've been emotionally abused, sexually abused. So yeah, it's quite a number.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and would you say the therapy, the counseling, would you say it helped you?
Absolutely, it did. But now this is the funny thing. I think about it, and for me, it just amuses me because when I was going through the therapy, when I was in the therapy, because I started therapy in 2019, I was just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, thank you. When I was done, like, thank you very much for wasting my time because you just made me relive all the moments.
Yeah.
And I've cried, and I'll go back home, and nothing will change, and I'll come back here next week. And we'll talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about how I don't have a job and how my relationship with my mom is getting worse. So at that moment, it did not help me. But now after therapy is when now I began to realize that so many things were brought to the surface. So I knew, so I have attachment issues because I have abandonment issues. So it brought things to the surface. So I'm very thankful and grateful for therapy. It really does help. It really does help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long have you lived with the mental illness? How many years?
3 to 4 years. So I was diagnosed in 2019. Yeah.
Okay. And is it better now? Would you say you're still mentally ill, or would you say you're fully recovered?
I wouldn't say I am fully recovered, but I'll put it this way. I have found ways to manage the symptoms. I got off medicine, but I would not advise anyone to go off medicine. But I had to because, of course, the financial hiccups, but it's really not advisable, especially if your doctor hasn't told you to do that. So I am at a place where I can manage the symptoms. And of course, it takes really hard work. It takes so much self-awareness to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Because mental illness, I'll have depression, you'll have depression, God forbid. You will be able to go to work, you'll be able to thrive in your relationships, but I can't. I'll just be in bed, sleeping and crying and cutting myself. Of course, that is what I used to do. I literally did not have any strength to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Even to shower. I went a week without showering. So I'll say I'm at a place where I'm managing. I manage it really well. Of course, I have my days, and I have people that I can count on. Yes, I have like a support group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really loving this conversation, Emma, and I like the fact that you're actually open about it. And so, guys, I want us to take a short break, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Intangible Show, and today we are talking about mental illness, and I have the most amazing guest in studio with me, and we were talking about basically her journey on mental illness, and now I want you to tell us about the stigma.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you asked that question. There's a huge stigma clouding mental illness. And I suffered that as well. And ironically, when I was at Matari, I experienced stigma from the mental health practitioners. This is not to say that they're bad people, because I've actually met really amazing mental health practitioners, but I've also faced stigma from them, because I remember a nurse asking me, why am I at Matari? So she started, are you married? I was like, no. Do you have a kid? I was like, ma'am, no. And she asked me, so why are you here? So the story is, people think that for you to be depressed or for you to have any kind of stress, you need to have a husband because a husband will stress you
Stress,
and your
yeah.
kids. And are you paying rent? If you're not paying rent, I don't see the reason why you are depressed.
Yeah.
That for me came as a huge surprise because I am seated there and I'm thinking, you went through a whole study of psychology or whatever it is that she had gone through. And you know that you're not supposed to ask that kind of question.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that. I might not be a mental health practitioner, but I do know some of the things that are supposed to be asked and some of the things that a mental health practitioner should not ask you. So that I also faced another actually mental health. This was a whole psychiatrist. So I also faced stigma from friends and from family, the society as a whole. I lost friends. I really did lose friends because they did not understand why I wanted to kill myself. Because there was a point where I was suicidal, and then now I got homicidal. So homicidal means I can kill you. Okay, I can't. Not right now. I can't. But I had by then. It's a thing.
Homicidal.
Yeah,
I've actually never heard of that.
Yeah, so people know suicidal. When I say, of course, when we hear someone say suicidal, it means they want to kill themselves. But homicidal, I want to kill you. So I'm smiling right now saying that, but trust me, I was crying because why would I want to kill someone? I'm not that kind of person. So people were not having to go to take that path with me. My family did not understand. I come from a place called Karagocho slums, and people think that for you to be depressed, you need to be rich. Honey, depression is for white people.
Yeah.
You are in Karagocho. I remember someone asking me, you are in Karagocho, why are you depressed? You know, and for me, I look at these people and I'm like, such level of ignorance. But I do not blame them because there is no much awareness. But now it's coming up. People are doing really well. Organizations are doing an amazing job making sure that people are aware and know that this thing is not a respecter of tribe, of race, and all that. So it was very hard for me to face that stigma. One, because my friends didn't understand me. My family didn't understand why I was cutting myself. My mom once told me, "Nesiku umetuuza Illuminati."
Wow, yeah.
And I just looked at her and like, no, I can't deal with you right now. A part of me understand that people do not understand mental illness. It's not their fault, maybe. Well, it's their ignorance because, we have all the materials.
Yeah.
The stigma, and I must admit that the stigma made it very difficult for me to ask for help. Because, like, people are going to know that I have depression.
Yeah.
Because I did not want that kind of thing. I thought no guy would want to date me. I was very scared. I thought that people were not going to want to be with me. Now that's the aspect of the whole stigma. And people are still facing that stigma.
Yeah.
Even your own friends might not understand it. And that's why it's very important. I always say, please take time to read about this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've actually mentioned because you're living in a slum, you shouldn't have depression.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen people joke about it and they're like, if you're poor, you don't have depression, yako ni wasiwasi.
I know.
You know, like people actually make such, I don't even know what to call them.
And it angers me because I've actually even seen a social media influencer joking about it. And I'm like, why would you, first of all, you are educated. Why would you joke about something like that?
Yeah.
Part of it is ignorance. It's just ignorance.
Yeah.
Because mental illness, it's just an illness like any other, you know?
Yeah.
And even in the slum, I think it's last month or a few weeks ago, where a guy, the wife left him, and now he wanted to take his own life. And now I had people say, why would he want to kill himself? Because of a woman. That is stupidity. Oh, you're new jinga. And I'm like, guys, stop. Because you cannot control. You cannot choose how I process things.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, because there might be someone else who went through the exact same thing, but that person doesn't have depression. We are different people,
yeah.
our bodies are working very differently. And I don't think we should blame anyone, really.
True. Yeah.
Because sometimes it feels like there's a part where I felt where like I was being blamed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how do you now deal with the triggers? What these triggers, how do you prevent yourself from cutting yourself? If you're still living in the same environment and you've said your family does not really understand mental illness, but these are people you actually have to see every day. So how do you deal with that?
I think, first of all, the triggers, I had to come to a level of self-awareness. I had to know who I am. I had to know why do I feel like crap? Why do I feel worthless? Why is it when you tell me something, I will react? I needed to know. I needed to learn how not to give people my power. Well, it's easier said than done, but trust me, it has taken so much tears and so much pain to get to a point where I'm talking like this. So it took self-awareness, and I had to understand that healing was my responsibility. I mean, we have Jehovah Jireh who heals us, all respect to him, but there's also now the human responsibility part. I had to take responsibility. I had to understand no one was coming to save me.
Yeah.
I admit sometimes I was like, I need just someone to call me. I need someone to love on me, you know. But I had to understand that healing was my responsibility. And so I had to be intentional. Actually, that's the word. I had to be intentional. So I learned, so why do I have, for instance, why do I have abandonment issues? It's because when my dad left that afternoon saying he'll come back, he got killed. So in my mind, and our minds are crazy. It's just crazy how our minds work. So when he left, when he never came back, my mind processed that dad said he would come, and he never did. So I find myself being very anxious, and I have this abandonment fear where the people will always leave. Yeah. And it's actually a thing. It's not something that people make up. It's a thing. People are going for therapy for it. So that's an example. Something else, how I manage. I had to also stop because I depended on my family to like help me and all that too. So it got to a point where if they saw Emma in bed for 2 days without coming out, if Emma's not coming out of bed for 2 days, leave her. And I got to a point where I stopped explaining myself to them or to anyone else because really, you cannot understand. You won't understand the shoe that I'm walking in. You will not. So I stopped, and I also now began being intentional and communicating with them and tell them, if you see me in bed the whole day, please don't even ask me what time is it, because I get now irritable. That's another symptom of depression. Like my little sister knows. I tell her, if you see me in bed past 4, please don't talk to me. If you want to, because my little sister likes asking, what time is it, just to annoy me sometimes. But so I just tell her, just come take my phone and look at it. Just don't talk to me. Yeah. And I'm glad and I'm grateful that they understand that part. They don't really understand why would you inflict pain on yourself? Yeah. You know, they just see marks and they're like, she's at it again. So yeah.
Okay, wow, that's actually I'm learning a lot, honestly. So about your friends, you lost some friends when you like came out. How is it now that you're comfortable with talking about your depression journey? Are you still losing people when you tell them about it? How are your family taking all this now that you're open about everything?
Yeah, I have lost friends, a lot of them, and this is because they did not understand what I was going through. And of course, I had to really understand again that they don't understand, and it is okay for them to not understand. because it can be a lot to process, honestly. It can be a lot to process. So I have lost friends because there's a friend of mine who used to be a friend of mine. Clearly, I can't call him a friend right now because he's not there. So he thought I was creepy and he thought I was weird because I was cutting my arms. But then again, I also needed to be very gracious with people because they did not understand. And in this process, right now, I'm only left with like 3 friends. And these are the people that have held me through all this time. And also, let me just mention how important to find your people is. It is very important for you to find your tribe. And your tribe, I'm not talking about Kikuyu or Luo. I'm talking about those people who really get you. And those people who don't get you, but they're there. I'll mention a girl, I think if anyone is watching me right now, they know who I'm about to mention. A girl called Susan, that's my elder sister. She's been there for me all through. She never judged me. She was there even when she did not understand why I felt like killing someone. She was there. We had so many calls. We were on calls for so many hours, and she was just there. She was just listening to me, and I loved how she just told me, I want to know your thoughts. And Susan really helped me. God put Susan in my life, and she really helped me get better. And and also this is a role that friends should play, because Susan would be in town at 7 a.m. to take me to my appointment. You know, she knew what drugs I was getting. She knew the time that I was taking the meds. You know, she was involved. She was intentional. And so I would advise anyone to just really get your tribe, get people who understand you. And also this other support, this tribe, part of tribe, the people that also are battling the same things, who are, if you have anxiety, they also have anxiety. So it's just a group where you get to encourage each other and all that. Yeah.
Okay, and speaking of this medication, I want to know how long is too long to be on this medication, because some people become so dependent on the pills, and without the pills they actually cannot survive. So what would you say about that?
I wouldn't answering how long is a bit hard, because I know of people rather who have been on antidepressants for more than 20 years. I know people who have been there.
That's long.
Yeah, so for me, I was told, because for me, I was when I started taking the meds, and they do have side effects. The first few months, I asked the doctor, so when can I stop? And I was shocked, because I was surprised, because this doctor told me that they'll have to see your progress. Meaning, if you go back, they increased it. And that is what used to happen. If I relapsed, they increase the dosage. So I can't really tell. No one can really tell how long is long, because there are people who have been on antidepressants for even 30 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. And how is the experience like with the doctors, with the therapists, like when you were in Matari?
Yeah.
How was it? Is it something you'd recommend for people? How are they treating you and all that?
Matari is a very interesting place. But so at Matari, I got really scared, because when I started getting better, now, because when I went to Matari, I was in my own world, and that is what really happens when you are diagnosed with a mental illness, with any kind of mental illness. You are literally in your own world. So I went there in my own world. I was just in my own world. I was not even conscious. So when I started getting better, I noticed that there are people who are worse than I am. There are people who are violent. But now the violent are kept they're kept apart. The people who are violent, they're people who are, because of the medicine, their body is reacting in a very they have wounds all over. So Matari was one. I would say that it is a good place. It is affordable for someone who is not able to afford Chiromo or some other places. The doctors were okay. I mean, they were helpful. There was therapy every week, I think. It was in 2019. Things might have changed by now. So Matari, yeah, but I wouldn't want to go back there. That's just what I would say.
Okay.
So yeah.
We're praying you don't go back
Yes,
there.
thank you.
And so as we conclude, what do you do when you get an anxiety attack? How do you manage it now that you're off medication? You're not really in therapy.
Yeah.
So how do you now manage these attacks?
Honestly, okay, and I know people don't talk about this, and we are even told, people are discouraged from saying this, but I would say number one, it is really God. God really took me through that. So when I get an anxiety attack, I just speak to my God and tell him that I'm having an anxiety attack and this is how I feel. And now I start asking myself, why do I feel like this? The day before yesterday, I got a crazy anxiety attack in town and I was almost run over because I had so much anxiety and I was focusing. I wanted to breathe and I could not breathe. So I needed to slow down. Stan, in fact, water helps. I didn't have water, but I had so much anxiety and it felt terrible. It felt as if I was going to die. So I needed to stop. I stopped by Archives and I started breathing. I started like, Emma, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to get home. I affirm myself.
Yeah.
You know that story where in the Bible they say David encouraged himself in the Lord?
Yes.
It is a thing. I have to affirm myself. And it's something I have learned. It takes time.
Yeah.
Please don't rush. It really takes time. And let no one rush your process. People should not rush anyone's process. It takes time. Be gracious with people.
Okay. So for the people who don't take mental illness seriously, for the people who run away from their friends when they say they're mentally ill, what would you tell them? You having gone through all that, what kind of a friend or what kind of support do you think people should give?
Okay. I'll talk about if you know anyone, let me just say this. If you know anyone who is battling any kind of mental illness, number one, if you really are their friend and if you are intentional, please, first of all, just get to know the basics of what mental illness is.
Yeah.
Be intentional. If your friend tells you, I was diagnosed with schizophrenic, please, we have Google. You know, if you don't have internet, you can just pass by somewhere where there's internet and then you can just get to know what is schizophrenic, what are the symptoms, and how can I help? Just that. Because I'm a firm believer that we are here to serve people. We are here to serve people in love. So get to know what is your friend going through. What are the triggers? Be there for your friend. And being there is not just texting and asking, yeah, you could do that. But something I learned from Susan, this is how I am now. This is how I am with other people. Get to know when the appointment, are they seeing a doctor? Do they want to see a doctor? Do they have someone they can depend on or they can count on other than you? Know their appointment, know what kind of drugs they're taking. Be gracious with them. If you do not understand anything, please don't tell them you understand. Please don't. And also, this is very important, let me just say this. Even as you are there for people who are battling mental illness, please take care of yourself because there's no way you're going to take care of your friend who is mentally ill and you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Also, if you are helping someone, if you're a friend to someone who is mentally ill, please establish boundaries. It is hard. For me, I thought when someone is establishing a boundary and I'm mentally ill, like you hate me, but it is very important. Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. And pray for them. Prayer, very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for telling us your story, for coming here. I've actually learned so much. First of all, that's the thing about you, someone wanting to kill other people.
Yeah.
I've really never heard of that. And so I'm really glad that you came. Thank you for sharing your story. Do you have any parting shots?
Yeah, it's just simple. Mental illness can be healed. It is manageable. please, 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 it is manageable. So please don't lose hope. Don't give up. I know it is very hard. It is easier said, but please, please, please don't give up. There is hope. I am here, and if I am here, you can get here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And there you have it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. I enjoyed and I've learned so much. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.